Well, as most Queenslanders continue to thank their Premier for keeping their borders closed, here's what happens when you refuse to juggle both the virus and the economy. According to ANZ research, Queensland only managed to beat the closed economy of Victoria last quarter. Victoria. So in effect, the Queensland Premier took her state to the bottom of the economic barrel. It didn't bounce back like the rest of the states of Australia. In fact, how's this? Housing, business, the labour market, that's your job, and trade sectors were all down. ANZ reported reduced investment within the resources sector and in new dwellings. Prices for Queensland's major commodity exports, LNG and coal, also fell in the quarter. No matter how the Queensland government wants to spin it over the weekend, the state's economy is flatlining at a time when the rest of Australia recorded an encouraging bounce back. This was how Zed Saselja described the nation's recovery.
I think we're going to see our economy continue to recover. We're going to see a lot of Australians travelling within Australia, which is fantastic, spending money in their state or indeed in other states across Australia, and we're already starting to see the signs of that. So yes, returning Australians would give the economy a boost, but also the easing of restrictions. And the fact that we've been able to manage this pandemic, I think, comparable to virtually every other nation on earth very well, puts us in a good position.
So these were signs that were evident in the September quarter economic figures, but not in Queensland or Victoria. So in terms of growth, taking Victoria out of the measurement for a second, because it was shut, Queensland was stone motherless last in the September quarter. Below trend pace is what the economists like to call it. The new opposition leader put it best.
There is no other state that has such an abundance of natural beauty and natural talent. That's why when I see the numbers that say we have the worst unemployment in mainland Australia, where we have the worst business confidence, where all of those figures are at rock bottom, I say to myself, well, something is wrong. It's not the people. The people will roll up their sleeves and get to work, but it's up to a government to create opportunity.
The cause of all of this is not in dispute. This is not David Crisafulli saying it or myself. It's ANZ senior economist Sherelle Murphy. It was border closure, she says, which dragged down growth in states such as Queensland. So for all the credit Annastacia Palaszczuk might love to receive and all the momentum that gave her to be reflected, she has driven the state into the ground. Now, you can impose the toughest infection benchmarks on the rest of Australia if you like, and ignore what New South Wales was succeeding in doing by juggling both, but you then can't hide the fact that you're damaging businesses, you're damaging jobs, you're damaging families and livelihoods in some circumstances forever. And this is with the most astounding financial and wage support any federal government has ever dished out. Imagine the economic carnage in Queensland without that. This was always the fear. But the Premier was only focused on one thing, the secret polling she's yet to reveal, which showed all through the pandemic that her virus obsession would sail her back into office. The reality is hundreds of thousands of Queenslanders are now paying for that very cynical power trip.